built, but she running right. She go run right after I'm done with it.
Rain, hold on.
That's good.
Well, it was on Friday.
I still say when I bought that house,
We're watching his radar.
the people that originally, I want to say the people that originally had messed with that house, they spent money where it shouldn't be spent. Like on,
Yeah.
they built a cat cage.
Yeah, I've seen
The
once.
house. I had to pry that off, and they drove nails into the vinyl side.
Really?
Yeah.
Stuff that didn't need to happen.
All right, Neil, you ready? Vivica, you ready? All right, let's call the meeting to order, the July 9th, 2025 meeting of the Rockbridge County Planning Commission. Roll call, Commission Member Sabrizi.
Here.
Commission Member Kramer.
Here.
Commission Member Sandridge.
Here.
Commission Member Whitmore.
Here.
Commission Member Beebe is here as well. In addition to citizens attending the meeting in person, citizens have several options to view or participate in the Zoom meeting webinar as described below. We will do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. To join the Rockbridge County Planning Commission Zoom webinar, the link is available on the county website to copy into the address line on your browser. To join by telephone, you may dial into one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Planning Commission YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press the raise hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you are calling in by telephone. At this time, we will proceed with the meeting. Tony has a quick question for John, I
I
think.
don't know how quick it's going to be, but
Yeah.
at the Board of Supervisors meeting, and I don't know if you saw some of the comments that I sent previously. There was a discussion about, we all been told 100 times that this goes, a special exception goes with the land.
Yes.
Unless there's some in the other reason why it would go away. And it was broached to you. I don't know which one it was, but were you able to find anything more about other than a time?
Are you referring to whether or not we can set an expiration date for special exceptions?
Not just a date, but it could have been tied to something.
For a particular event. Yeah, in any case, special exceptions have to be run with the land tied into land, period, whether the expiration is set by a date or by an event. It still applies to the land. I'm still of the opinion that yes, we can do it beyond clearly we can do it on a date. We can set a date for a special exception for the last 5 years or will expire on such and such date in the future. The only limitations we have is any special exceptions tied into residential uses cannot be shorter than 3 years. Otherwise, we can set a date. Now, setting it to event, what you're referring to is what we did in that particular case. Is we set to the event of the transfer of ownership of the property, whether or not the special exception would continue, and we set it so that the special exception would expire upon transfer of ownership. I think there's arguments to do that. The only concern I have about moving much more in that direction is it's also tied into a policy question, and our current director of community development has health issues yet, and I think he should be part of that decision. So my recommendation, not a legal recommendation, would be that we don't do anything like that until such a time that the community development director is able to return. But that's just a recommendation.
I mean,
legally, if that's what the commission wants to do, or especially if that's what the board wants to do, I can make a legal argument supporting doing that. But we would be one of the few counties that does causes the expiration of a special exception other than by date.
Well, I think,
Sorry, that was a long legal answer.
I know, but I believe there's some merit considering that almost on every case, maybe most of the time we won't, but it seems like it has some merit. And the fact is that, I can think, I don't want to bring up examples necessarily where, there's now infrastructure for that particular stuff, and that you could actually sell it because of the infrastructure that's there. Others maybe just, I think we got some examples tonight where that's not the case.
I think on the issue of clearly on dates, there's no question about that. We're completely solid legal ground on a particular event. It's not as clear because there's not, the statute frankly doesn't directly address dates either. They just address certain things, which makes all the attorneys believe dates.
But event like, I mean, in some cases, you know, they can't, somebody can't get a business license unless they get
Well, that's
the zoning.
yes.
I mean, that could be, a license could be a reason to not let it continue, I would think.
Well,
In some cases, I'm not,
we can have conditions requiring that you have a business license in order to operate that. Matter of fact, it's normally part of the process of obtaining a business license, as you mentioned. And those could be set as conditions also, like common air conditions would be, you know, compliance with VDOT, compliance with signage ordinances, compliance with several other things. All that stuff is perfectly fine. I am a little, as I mentioned, I'm a little hesitant to encourage any other limited expiration, any condition which sets an expiration event for a special exception other than a time one. However, you know, the Board of Supervisors desired to have it tied into the transfer ownership. And I said I would do my best to defend that if we're ever challenged. So I think it's not illegal. I haven't found nothing that says we can't do it.
but I agree with you. I mean, I don't want to let it drop. When Chris comes back, I think that's the right time.
And that's my hesitancy is I believe that given Chris's, you know, long experience in this area, and given that he's the one that's charged with enforcing this, that
I just think
my
that
thought would be best to have him back.
to me, it argues the fact is that if we're going to let it go with the land, we might want to be more restrictive on our conditions.
Well, it's fine. And it always, no matter what, even if we were talking about it expiring because of a sale, it still is running with the land. We have no right to have it run with anything else but with the land. All special exceptions are tied into zoning ordinances, and zoning is tied directly to the land, not to the individuals that own the land.
I got it.
So, and that's kind of semantics, but it has a legal meaning to it. So we no matter how we do this, we're saying it is running with the land.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I will say I have talked with Director of Community Development, Chris Layden, and I think that there is some concern with continuing forward with that trend because the governing body has the ability to set regulations based on the use of the land and the not necessarily the owner of the land. And so I agree. I think Chris Layden needs to be more involved in this when he is able to. But I would have some hesitancy after speaking with him moving forward with a condition.
Well, I'm just saying it's a consideration that we haven't been until I heard it at that meeting. And we are making recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. So we might want to make a recommendation that they don't do something like that in the future, if that's the case. It's a consideration that, at least in the year that I've been doing this, that we haven't had that case. So yeah.
Let's try to table that discussion until Chris comes back. Okay. This is the citizens' comments portion of the meeting. Is there anyone physically present to speak, not in relation to your programs, but anything else?
There's no one that has signed up.
Okay. And then via online, Zoom?
I'm not seeing anyone with a hand raised.
Thank you, Vivica. All right. Hey, the minutes from the June 11th, 2025 meeting. Any questions, comments, additions, or motions? Anybody make a motion to approve them? Are they already?
There was a member had brought up a few spelling error and error in the name of one of the members who had conducted asked a question. And so those corrections were recommended to be made. I have made those on our side. So if you wouldn't mind recommending it with the changes that were.
I'll make a motion to accept them
As
those
amended.
changes, yeah.
We have a
second.
And we have a second. Tony made the motion and Bob seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Board reports, staff, would you like to give a report on the?
Yeah, since the June 11 Planning Commission meeting, the Board of Supervisors had 5 public hearings and acted on several applications. The first being, and these will be in the order that they appeared on the agenda, the Harding special exception permit for the private school dog training facility in the A2 district. There is a conditions update on there. If you would like to go through those, we can. I also have copies if any of the members would like them there. One of the changes was on condition number 2, training activities are limited to 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And these are changes that were made at the Board of Supervisors level once you all had moved it forward. The others were very similar there, but it came out to be 6 total conditions, and they did approve it.
Okay.
At that point.
Instead of going through them, since it's their approvals, maybe we take a copy of it so we can just take a
I
look
do
at it.
have a copy of the ordinance that was
Why don't you
signed.
just pass that out later, Neil, and we'll keep moving.
And on the Lanford bed and breakfast homestay in the R1 district, there were no conditions there. So that was moved forward as recommended by the Planning Commission. On the Plummer accessory structure in the floodway, there were 3 conditions put forward. Proposed addition to the existing structure shall not exceed 100 square feet. And condition number 2 was modified slightly, no storage of hazardous materials within the structure. And 3 remained the same.
Great.
From there. The next one was on the commercial kennel in the AT district, the Tomlin application. There was a change on condition number 2. One of the dog breeds was dropped. The Belgian Malinois was removed, and some additional language was added into condition number 3 to be limited to 8 female dogs and 3 male dogs, which shall include visiting stud dogs, excluding personal pets, and then the addition excluding puppies 16 weeks or younger.
Okay.
There. And condition number 4, outdoor runs shall be secured to prevent dogs from escaping. That was an addition. And number 5, solid waste shall be disposed of at a permitted landfill. That was an addition. And then at the end, condition number 8, special exception permit shall expire at the time which the ownership of the property is transferred, except for transfers to immediate relatives. That was an addition there.
Okay.
And that passed as well. And the final one was the Washington Lee University private school, and this is for their temporary driving range during renovation at the country club. And those conditions were adopted as recommended with a slight change to number 5. Use of the driving range and putting green shall be limited to Washington Lee University men's and women's golf teams and Washington Lee University PE classes under the supervision of an instructor. That was put in as a change there. The rest of the conditions were adopted as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Great.
Can I make a, for
Yeah, go ahead.
the purpose of the board, they had the conservation easement on that property. Well, they did not let them, they're not going to let them put the sand trap in.
Okay. Yep.
I
I think
thought
we
that-
heard about that
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. No
And-
TCO. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There was no TCO meeting or BCA meeting in June. There was a community development committee meeting on the 16th, where we discussed the upcoming Board of Supervisors agenda items. And then there'll be the next one will be on this coming Monday, the 14th of July.
Vivica, I will be out of town for that meeting.
Wait, the
Sorry.
14th? I thought it was
I don't think that's right, is it? Is it correct,
14th?
Vivica?
I thought I had it on the
Okay.
22nd.
So it moved up to
It would be the 21st, just
21st.
because the planning commission falls a little early this month.
Vivica, I'll let you know, but I think I'm out of town for that. I'm sorry. Okay. Hey, thank you, staff. The first item on the agenda tonight is Lance and Lauren Randolph. It's the public hearing for the application for a special exception permit to develop and operate a licensed child care center in the agricultural and general uses A2 zoning district. Neil?
bear with us. We're just working to get the PowerPoint slide shown.
Thank you. Thank you all for your patience.
All right, almost there. Okay, I think we're good to go.
All right. Pardon the delay there. The first application that we have this evening for a special exception is Lance and Lauren Randolph are applying for a special exception to start a childcare facility. The property is owned by Lance and Lauren Randolph and consists of 2.7 acres in the A2 zoning district. And to kind of orient you to the location, it is at the intersection of Ross Road and Union Run and lies just to the east there of Union Run. And here's the zoning in the area. So they are in the A2 district and it's surrounded by A2 there as well.
Yeah, this, you've got more presentation, Neil?
Yes. And so they are looking to develop a child care center. And per section 302.37 of the Rockbridge County Land Development Regulations, a child care center is defined as any facility operated for the purpose of providing care, protection, and guidance to a group of children separated from their parents or guardians during part of the day only, and meeting the licensing requirements for childcare centers of 63.2-1701 of the Code of Virginia. And in the A2 zoning district, of the regulations, childcare centers are used by special exception in the A2 district. And the existing dwelling that is their primary residence will be utilized for the childcare center. And they are the owners there. Here are some conditions that could be utilized. And I'm going to bring up Mr. and Ms. Randolph and let them go further into what their plans are and answer questions. Their desire is to get this facility licensed to serve between 5 and 12 children as a daycare center. So,
Neil, I have a question for you and maybe John as well. The way the ordinance is right now, in the A2 district, a licensed childcare center can be allowed there. It might be something that needs to be fixed in the ordinance. A childcare center is only allowed in B1 and I1. I want to make sure we get the language right. I don't want to.
I think it's,
go ahead.
no, I think it's okay without including the word license on that one particular one, but you're right. It does say that actually in the,
Yeah, I mean, it's,
and that's.
so, I mean, and
We could add
the way
that
I
language.
understand is that they're after a family day home, which is defined in Virginia code.
Well, we don't have an ordinance allowing for family day homes in our county.
I understand
so
that, but you can consider that a licensed, I would consider that under that definition of licensed childcare facility.
Well, the only thing we're allowed to do is the licensed childcare facility. So that I think their application, and they seem to be complying with being a
Right,
licensed
right,
childcare
right.
facility.
I understand it, but well, we can get to that other part. There is some language in the concept, their concept plan that
Okay.
talks about being exempt license, which then would, that
That-
cause a problem.
And yeah, I mean, there's realized that the only thing that we focus on here on is actually the land use and stuff tied in land use. They still have to comply separately with any other state requirements, which is not the county's responsibility to enforce, but is a responsibility of the different departments in the state.
Okay, I just wonder if there's some reason for that. To me, it seems to be a discrepancy in the ordinance.
I don't know the answer for why we use that language or not. That was before my time.
Either of you know that the way why the language is that way? Why would a childcare center not be allowed in an A2?
I think part of it is just the age of the language that's in the land development regulations kind of is, and the
If we look if we look not even that closely to our land development regulations, there's a lot of places where we have some language which was probably made a lot of sense at the time it was passed, but without seeing the whole context of why it's there, we may not know.
I just don't want to
exactly
get trapped in a legal issue because of language in the ordinance.
why. Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about that right now because the issues, we are focusing purely on the zoning aspects of it. That's what we're looking at, just land use. And so we could put that word in there if that's
I mean,
just to clarify.
one time
other
Chris
than-
said there was a list of things he wanted to get fixed. Maybe we add this to the list.
We have a very long list. Yes, we do.
Tony, are you talking about them being like religiously exempt, like working with
I'm
a
just-
church?
I'm just saying is that we're approving what I think would be a licensed or we're recommending approval, a licensed childcare. If they become exempt from license, then are they still in compliance?
I think we haven't got to that yet, but when we get to the conditions, I think some of the wording in the conditions is worded such that
Yes.
that it covers.
That helps.
that They comply with any licensing requirements which they're required to have, they comply with, and if they're exempt, then it wouldn't be. And I think it'd be best, we wouldn't necessarily, it's not our responsibility concern because that's a state law issue. It's not our responsibility to, I would rather not get into trying to define what the state law means if it's not the area of the code that we're required to enforce.
so this time I'm going to ask Mr. and Ms. Randolph to come up for any questions and further information.
Sounds great. Thank you. How are you all? Good. Go ahead, to dig in.
But I don't know if I can shed some light on that whole situation. Our family day home is completely separate than a childcare facility like the YMCA or Yellow Brick Road. So we have to comply with the Virginia Department of Education, who they say we need a license in the county.
Yeah, I assume that
Yeah.
that wasn't meant necessarily for
So I
you.
just,
Because I saw, I mean, the language, and that's what made me look into it. And I noticed that you're, license wise, you're going to be complying with
yeah.
the state.
I mean, we started this process just trying to find out information last year. We've been in contact with Chris and Neil probably a lot. And again, talking to several people with the Department of Education, had contact with VDOT, again, all before we even started this process, just to find out what we had to do and comply, because we knew there was a time limit once we started the application. Since then, it has been, we thought we were going to be able to get into the, I guess, June meeting, but trying to find out the building codes that aren't, I guess, under for a family day home are different than what it is for, again, a child care center. So once we got things squared away with that pushed us out of the timeline for the Department of Education. And so now we're having to reapply with them. And so that's why we're trying to time it up with you all and them so that it all kind of meets at the same deadline. We have references from the parents that, the kids we watched. I still work full time. My wife is watching a couple kids. I mean, we're trying to do everything we can to keep the children safe. Not only we have 5 kids ourselves, but then the kids that would be underneath our supervision for the 7:30 to 5:30 time period.
Yeah, I would compliment you on your detail and your presentation. Thank you.
I did.
There's a shortage of daycare, and
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think that's something that we need to have.
We have been approached by a church in the area and a couple other people who they said once we got established, would we think about looking into taking on that other license or to work underneath their religious exemption, but help them with managing it, and then having possibly another child care center somewhere else. And that with this, we didn't would have to, juggle that at that time. But right now, we're just focused on
Get started first.
Yes.
One question I had to ask, because I mean, do you intend on letting them play outside? Because I have 2 young kids too, and I will tell you, I only have 2, and I turn my back and they're gone. So I don't know about the fencing. That was the only thing that raised my eyebrows,
Oh
because
yeah, yeah.
I turn my back, my child's already behind the house.
Yeah. So we have, I don't know if you know the house, it was the shorter residence. And so they had built in a pool. We had not only for our kids, because we have from age 14 to now going on 9 months, we put up a 4-foot no climb fence. So that's completely sectioned off. In the areas right now, we have a enclosed covered porch. And then we have another section, which is shown where the pool is. I built gates on both of those areas so that the kids can't get out.
Those are good gates too.
Yeah. Yeah. I made sure that another thing compliant with the Virginia Department of Education, since we have chickens, they don't really have any regulations with that, but we're kind of like, we can't have the chickens pooping on the porch and stuff. So I'm doing all I can to, every time they find a new way in, I'm building something. to keep them
VDOE
out.
is very
Good luck with
entertaining.
that.
VDOE is very entertaining. My wife's a teacher.
Yes. And and they free range. So it's always exciting with them. We are looking at expanding into, we have some wooded area. Looking at opening that up to put in a playground, and my mind just starts racing on like, how can I make a little racetrack around for them to ride scooters and bikes and things in that nature. So everything will be fenced off. And then again, fencing off the area for them to walk from one area to the next for that reason. Because again, we have little ones ourselves, and I can't answer the phone without them darting off and going and picking up something that they should.
But right now where they play is completely
Yes.
split.
Okay. All right. Because I saw the front view, and that's when I was like, all right,
Yeah.
I know kids want to get out. Otherwise, you guys will be more than entertained with having that many
yeah.
kids there.
It is. All right.
I have a couple of questions, as I always do.
Go ahead, Tony.
The worst one, who's Lulu?
She Lulu, and they call me Lala.
Okay, all right.
Childhood.
Yes.
Well, that's not enough reason to not recommend it.
Oh, man.
I did concern, I did a drive-by. I didn't pull in or anything. I noticed you had spaces for parking.
Yes.
And if you go up to 12, that, you know, I don't have kids now, although I did have kids, and
If you had
You know.
12, would it be just you, or do you have an employee's forecast, or is it just
It's
you?
just me and her.
Okay, are you going to keep your full-time job when you?
That's, and again, that's that hairy situation that we're playing with.
Not my business, but I
No,
just,
no,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
With the Department of Education, there's a point system. So right now, under the Virginia law, you can watch 4 kids without being licensed, and the points don't matter. Once she is licensed, because of the ages of the kids she's watching, plus our kids don't count towards capacity, but they count towards points, she would be over points. So I would have a week to leave my job and be at the house to then.
It's
be a
good
part of
it's
daycare.
good you're aware of those regulations.
what's the number that you could go up with the way you are right now with you?
So we individually can have 16 points.
Okay.
Now, from 6 weeks to 15 months, there are 4 points. From 16 months to 23 months, the 3 points. 2 to 5, I think, is 2 points, and then after that, they're 1 point. And then once they get to 9, there are no points. Well, at that point, at 5, they'll be going to kindergarten, and that's where we're trying to prepare them to be like more than ready to go. Yeah, until 10 years, it's when they become no
But
point.
back to the parking, I mean, you could potentially have 10 or 12 picking up at the same time.
So definitely, we have 5 kids, we have birthday parties all the time.
So you have enough room.
Family, yes. we've
There's
never
not
had
gonna
a
be,
problem.
I mean, I guess I'm concerned, one of the things that I was thought about was, I mean, you're on the intersection, but basically of 2 rural roads, and any temptation to park on that narrow road would be not a good thing.
Right, and I mean, even with talking with VDOT and some of the things that they've told us, I've got to take out a couple of little branches, stuff that they have marked up. I've already thought about, there is one that has a hole in it, so I'm worried about something trying to make a house in there. So if that became a issue for then my animals, I would then cut that tree down, which would allow a little bit more space. But we are looking at how we can make maybe a roundabout if we needed to. But again, we've had several birthday parties and things happen, and we just have people park into the yard.
Pretty good sight line. Your driveway's on Ross Road, correct?
Yes.
And the
We
sight
have
line's
two
pretty good.
We have
Sight
2
line's-
driveways. So we have one on Union Run, and
Excellent.
then we have one on Ross. So if we needed to utilize both, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we would outline that in the policy
Yes.
too, with that, like where parents would park and what would not be allowed. There would be no like parking on the street or anything like that.
Yes. And you cannot back out to the
That way
road because
everyone-
that's just not.
Yeah, I just remember Providence Hill. That's where I went to preschool, and that's out in the city, Providence Hill. And she had a small driveway, Mrs. Pfeiffer. So, and they parked alongside the street, but they have a little bit more working area than Miss Pfeiffer did.
Okay.
Again, I was 3, but a 5 or whatever you want to call
All right. Any other questions for Lance and Lauren?
When you talk, you answered mine. So why was it 5 to 12? Well, 4, you don't have to have one, 5 you do. Let's see. Curious as to how regular your schedule set up actually works. 1:30 to 3:30 nap time. I'm just.
it.
Works sometimes.
If you can get that to work,
That's the same problem I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah, everyone actually has napped really well. I've had a lot of the kids for a long time. One little girl, August 1st, so it'll be 3 years that I've had her. So everyone kind of just eventually falls into routine with each other. So really, like, most days are pretty good nap days.
I need to go watch her.
So
do
you
that.
are doing daycare now, but the under 5,
Yes.
the number 5. Okay, no.
Business.
How long have you been doing that? I'm sorry.
August 1st will be 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Does the state Department of Education require a certain amount of employees based on the number of kids, or
So that is all regulated on points.
you
It's
just
not
got
a-
to follow your point
Yeah,
system?
yeah.
But
So
okay, as long as-
it is literally just, we can have 12 kids at our home. That is the maximum amount a family daycare can have.
with two quote employees or
Yes. So if it was just her, she could have 7 kids
Mhm.
as long as she's under that 16 points. And then you all approve, you all approval, but
Okay.
So since it's 12, once you start throwing in the ages and points, us having a 9-month-old and 2-year-old, there's 6 points right there. So that's where we have to look at every age and go, okay, well, we know we have to have 2 caregivers, and for both of us to do it together, raising our kids together, like it's just,
Okay.
we know we meet that 12.
Gotcha.
It sounds like you're very aware of what the appropriate rules are. So,
More power to you.
yeah. Okay. This was our discussion period. You guys can stay there just for a second. Any more questions, gentlemen? Okay. Thank you all. At this time, we're going to open the public hearing. You can have a seat. Thank you very much. We might ask a question or two, but thank you very much. So the county needs you, so that's, yeah. There's nobody present to speak, I assume.
Correct. There's no one signed up for the public hearing.
There's probably nobody online. That's it. I shouldn't say it that way. Is there anybody online?
There's nobody even attending.
I'm seeing no hands raised.
Okay, thank you. Are there any objections anywhere to closing the public hearing? Would the commission like to continue the public hearing to the next planning commission? I say we close the public hearing. We're going to close the public hearing. Okay. With no further public comments, we'll close the public hearing. I guess I'm supposed to ask them that, but any more discussion, gentlemen?
Number one, it says shall take place in the existing dwelling. I don't think that includes the yard, so maybe we need to add some language in fenced yard or
Existing property.
that's another.
How about that? Just change it to existing property.
I'm good with that.
Dwelling and surrounding property.
That matches number 3, the
Yeah.
property.
Yeah, dwelling surround property might be a little better since dwelling has a particular legal meaning. That's all right with the commission.
Which one did you say?
The number 1 would be
Property.
shall take place in the existing dwelling and surrounding property.
Okay.
And we talked about number 2, 5 through 12 children. Meeting the licensing requirements, Code of Virginia.
Yeah, and it gets reiterated in 6 for the VDOE standard. So
Tony, you okay with the general lighting requirement?
Scratch it.
Okay.
Don't break that down.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
One of the things is that they mentioned that they're going to have a handout for the, something for the, I said, I would like some language in there about no parking on Ross or.
I don't have a problem.
would that be with VDOT?
I'm not sure. Do you know whether VDOT allows or is it allowed to park under VDOT rules?
Well, VDOT will require them to have a low volume commercial entrance. And I have been in contact with Alvin Trout, the local resident engineer, and they are working through that process now. But as part of that, they would not allow parking outside of the property.
So
bounds.
is that good enough just to allow VDOT to handle that
And
situation?
that's probably why in most situations we don't specifically address that, except for, as you know, like the golf course or stuff when we have neighborhoods surrounding it, because you are allowed to park in those type of residential streets. But my understanding was that we aren't allowed, VDOT doesn't allow you to park on normal streets, so that this regulation wouldn't normally cover that. And I assume that's why we have used this language instead of specifically disallowing parking. But we could add it. I mean, there's nothing that would stop us from adding it. That's perfectly fine.
I'm sorry, I mean, they know what they're doing, and that's just a line in their thing to.
If the commission wants to recommend that to the board of supervisors, nothing would stop you. Just be more specific. That's allowed.
Yeah,
And would that tie into like 4 with the signage? Is that tied to VDOT too?
VDOT has certain regulations of signage, this
Yeah.
language about the size, that's actually a county
Okay. All
coverage
right.
issue.
Make
So,
sure of that.
yeah, so that's not, this is
Yes.
put in because of the county rules.
Yeah, I mean, you had mentioned the policy package, and it's just,
Yeah, and it's, I mean, the one issue to keep in mind is that what we're doing here is just dealing with your land use. And so things like your policy package, if it doesn't tie in with the land use, you can decide whatever you want, but and following that in compliance with your licensing regulations and all those, because in the end, what we're looking at is just, we are empowered to give a special exception to use it for the child care. And we're empowered to look at proposed conditions that apply to the land and taking into consideration general welfare and health for county residents. Anything beyond that, we're not supposed to address. That's addressed by other areas. So I think the question is what's in your policy package. If you had something that was contrary to our conditions in your policy package, I think that would concern us. But whether you include them in there or other places, it has nothing to do with our power as a zoning area. Yeah, and you can choose to do that personally if that's what you like to do. We wouldn't enforce that though.
okay.
either way, that's just something I had noticed as I drove by. I felt like it was. And I didn't realize that the VDOT, you talk about an entrance, that doesn't necessarily address parking.
I can't speak to that specifically. So if you'd like to, you could include that as a recommended condition. If not, it doesn't matter.
I'd like to do it if they don't have a problem with it. I don't want it.
I don't have a
Not
problem
something
with
that's
that.
going to be enforced.
No
unless
parking
there's-
on the road.
I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Add it in there, Tony.
Where you want to put it?
Where do you want to put it?
Number 7.
Number 7.
How do
Would
you
that
want to
be
word
no
that?
parking in the VDOT right of ways?
No parking
Yeah.
in the VDOT right of ways.
That'd be fine. Too.
and maybe mention the 2 roads because there's only 2 roads there. But yeah, so it's
No parking.
Bus Road and Union Road.
Yeah. Everybody up to speed? Since the public hearing is closed, would any commission member like to make a motion?
I make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that the application for a special exception permit to develop and operate a licensed child care center in the agricultural and general use A2 zoning district be approved with the following conditions. All child care activities shall take place in the existing dwelling and surrounding property. 722 Union Run, Lexington, Virginia, 24450. 2, approval to serve 5 through 12 children exclusive of the provider's own children and any children that reside in the home contingent upon meeting the licensing requirements of 63.2-1701, formerly 63.1/196 of the Code of Virginia. The property addressed as 722 Union Run Road and further identified as tax map parcel 74-11-2, which is 2.7 acres per tax record, shall remain as the primary residence of the owners/operators of the child care facility or center. 4, signage shall be limited to no more than 6 square feet. 5, compliance with section 1303.03 general lighting requirements and 1303.04 general design requirements of the County of Rockbridge land development regulations. 6, approving contingent on Virginia Department of Transportation, Rockbridge County Building Department, Virginia Department of Education, if applicable, approvals and licensing and all applicable state and federal regulations. And 7, there shall be no parking in the VDOT right of way covering Union Run and Ross Road.
A second.
We have a motion by Adam Sanders and a second by Bob Kramer. All those in favor?
Aye.
The vote is unanimous. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, you all. Good luck with the Board of Supervisors, and you are needed in the community, so thank you, and
Thank you.
appreciate the professional presentation too. Thank you. Yeah. All right, the next item on the agenda is John C. Holmes, public hearing, application for a special exception permit to continue to operate a commercial kennel in the agricultural and general uses A2 zoning district. Neil?
Yes, bear with me. Let me bring up Mr. Holmes' application. And yes, John Holmes, the property owner of 30. The property under consideration is owned by Mr. Holmes. It's tax map number 36-A-97A. And it's 159 Anderson Farm Road, and it lies just to the west of Backdraft Road there. In the area, it consists of 5.08 acres per tax records, and it's in the A2 zoning district. Here is a look at the surrounding zoning. With A2 surrounding the property, with some A1 there in the distance. And the application is to continue to operate a commercial kennel per section 302.116 of the Rockbridge County Land Development Regulations. A kennel is defined as any location where raising, grooming, caring for, or boarding of dogs, cats, or other small animals for commercial purposes is carried on. And per section 603.03-5 of the regulations, commercial kennels are used by special exception in the A2 zoning district, and the existing dwelling owned by Mr. Holmes is proposed to be utilized for the breeding business. And the application is requested for breeding of Bichon Frise exclusively. And I will bring Mr. Holmes up to talk further about his
Can I ask you a
application.
question?
And
On the hearing notice, and I didn't see anything in the application, you said to continue operating a commercial kennel.
correct, and I'll let Mr. Holmes, I think, can talk about that at this point.
Okay.
So we also, there are photos of his property there, and he can further explain his plans for that. So
Thank you, Neil.
You'll need to stop sharing.
How are you?
Afternoon.
Basically.
Mr. Holmes, could you move closer to the microphone so we could have direction?
You can move it up.
There you go. There you go.
I never knew that I had a commercial kennel. I had a house full of dogs, and occasionally they presented me with little presents that I placed. The money actually goes for their upkeep. They have to be groomed. Their doctor care, their veterinary care. I never saw it as a business. I was corrected on that, and that's my lawyer and I have been straightening things out, getting an LLC and doing things correctly. Didn't know I was operating outside of what I should have been doing.
Well, I mean, that's why I approached the
Yeah.
question to them, because I thought maybe there was some suspension of it or something before.
No, I've like I said, just had a house full of dogs.
Okay.
No, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's pretty straightforward. You'd like to stick with the Bichon Frises? Did I say that?
Bichon Frise, yes,
Did I say
All
that?
little dogs.
Small little dog. Okay.
Little white dogs.
Yep, I
Yeah.
call them coggies.
I'm not looking to expand.
Yeah.
I'm 72 years old and I figure I'm done chasing dogs around the house. I want to be able to take care of my pups. I love them. They're my family.
Understand.
How many dogs do you have now? There's 3 in the picture.
I have 3 breeding females, one of which is going to be retired very, very soon, and 1 male breeder and 2 non-breeders. So I'll have 3 and 3 very soon.
You'll have, what, 3 female, 3 male? Is that what you're saying?
Is that there's a line item in the conditions we're going to recommend. We might as well do it right now since we're on it. We're going to limit you to the number of female dogs. Is 3 the proper number? Or would you like a 4th? I mean, are we?
Are you saying breeding female?
Yeah. When we're thinking that, it's
Okay,
breeding.
I'm just saying, I don't remove my dogs from the household once they've been retired. I let them.
That would be considered a pet.
That's a pet.
That's a
yeah,
pet. So-
yeah.
So it could
Well, I
be,
consider all pets.
Yeah, see, that's, I think we gotta watch the language there because they could all be considered your pets.
we could add a pet line on number.
Yeah, that's what I
on
was
on
thinking of
number
the
3.
addition. 'Cause if
Let's
he
talk about
retires
the
them all-
business. Let's talk about the business side of it. too.
If
How
I may.
many female dogs?
If I may, for the kennel is always done on the definition of kennel requires it to be done for a commercial purpose, which means any dog he keeps that's not for commercial purpose would never be considered as part of the numbers in here
Automatically.
automatically. So yeah, so it's and I think we are specific saying dogs for breeding, excluding puppies, but if they're not for breeding, I mean, they're his pets and we cannot make any regulations as to the number of pets or breeds he has if they're pets. So I
Then we
wouldn't.
can't differentiate between pets and breeding.
I would think, I don't think there would be a need to. You could put language in there, but I think that's, by definition here,
I think what you said is he's got the dogs for business and he can have his pets.
that's right.
That's
And I
irrelevant.
think language is
Without adding.
specific enough here. And actually the definition of kennel requires them to be dogs for business. And if they're not in that, if they're not in the commercial area, then this doesn't apply to them.
But they're gonna all be in the same area.
Well, no, I mean, if they're not in area, I mean, if they're not being kept for commercial purposes, then this doesn't apply. So if he retires, for example, one of the dogs retires from breeding, she will no longer be considered
A
one of the
commercial.
numbers
You can
here.
keep
She
it as a
should
pet.
be a
You can
pet.
still
No,
keep-
I understand that. I'm just making sure the language is.
Yeah, and so I would be just, you can change language if you'd like to. My view is that the language you currently have here is sufficient to
Okay.
to meet that.
Because historically, we have not differentiated or
'cause there-
specified anything about
Okay.
pets, just to separate
there-
from the legal side.
Because
We
there's
have
no,
not
there's
put
no,
that in
because there's
before.
really no need to, because that's not, pets aren't even being
Okay.
considered.
I thought we have put excluding pets.
I
thought we-
think
We've
there was
put it
one,
in the
I think there's
past.
once or twice we've done it when we've had it, but in reality, it's not needed because the law, our ordinance is quite clear. It's only for commercial purposes. And this one does actually make reference to breeding, period. So if there's an animal not being kept for breeding, then it wouldn't be considered in this.
How many would you like, Mr. Holmes?
I'm sorry.
How many breeding females would you like?
2,
You sure he
Limit
ever,
yourself.
Yeah, because once you
Oh, I
put it
mean-
in,
3.
Say 3?
You know,
Just
let's
to be
let's
safe?
take accidents into account.
okay. And then male dogs,
2. I have 1 at the minute, and he's getting a little older.
3 female dogs, 2
two
male dogs.
males.
I would say give him 4 because if you do have 4, then you'd have to come back before us again and pay your, I
Fine.
Yeah, we're trying to
Yeah, but the,
Total of 6 would be fine.
think that's up
We'll get
there.
him-
2.
4 and 2.
4 and 2,
Everybody okay with that?
4 females, 2 males.
You guys
All
want to, knock the rest of this out since it's our time?
Well, you got to close public hearing.
I do have to close
Haven't
public
opened
hearing.
Yeah, you ain't opened it yet.
Let's. Okay, any more questions for John right now before,
Nope. Simple.
You probably don't even have a current sign, do you? Or do,
My mother-in-law just gave me one. I don't have it up. I did have it standing up towards the front, but no.
is it less than 6 square feet?
I'm sorry.
How big is the
Oh,
sign?
it's
Okay.
Okay,
It's under it.
perfect. Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, John. Any more discussion? We'll open the public hearing. Okay.
Good.
All right.
You can have
Is
a
there
seat.
anybody physically present that would like to speak?
John, you can have a seat, buddy.
John, thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. And online?
Nobody cares. There's nobody on. Let's see what we can do.
There's not anyone with their hand raised.
Thank you, Neil. Are there any objections to closing the public hearing? Anybody?
No.
Okay, we've closed the public hearing. Any more discussion?
I want to say is that, you know, I'm backing off my, when I keep talking about the, you know, maybe you want to breed somebody else. It's up, you know, I'm out of the mindset now. If the application, if the application says, yes, to give them what they asked. Now, we just negotiated on the numbers, and I think the larger the numbers,
Safer it is. Or go ahead.
no, the more concern we have from a land use standpoint.
Right,
And,
that's
you
true.
know, barking and getting loose, and, you know, we had a kennel that was up to 12. So I guess I want to caution everybody to let's do what they're asking for. Let's not push further. I'm okay with 4 and 2.
Okay.
Or Tuesday.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion then, if that's all right.
go
I
ahead.
make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that the application for a special exception permit to continue operating a commercial kennel in the agricultural and general uses A2 zoning district be approved with the following conditions. Number 1, all breeding, raising, and caring for dogs shall take place in the existing dwelling, which is 159 Anderson Farm Road, Rockbridge, Bass, Virginia. Number 2, breeding shall be limited to Bichon Frises. Number 3, limited to 4 female dogs and 2 male dogs for breeding, excluding puppies 16 weeks or younger, but which shall include visiting stud dogs. Number 4, boarding and grooming operations shall be prohibited. Number 5, solid waste shall be disposed of at a permitted landfill. Number 6, signage shall be limited to no more than 6 square feet. Number 7, compliance with section 1303.03 general lighting requirements and section 1303.04 general design requirements of the County of Rockbridge land development regulations.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by David Whitmore and a second by Adam Sandridge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It's a unanimous. The vote is unanimous. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for cleaning everything up. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other items for the better of the county at this moment?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Very good.
How we doing,
Mr.
John?
Chair.
Better.
Great. Next thing you know, you can be Robert's Rules consultant.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Vivica, thank you for all your hard work. Again, you too, Neil, John, thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Hang in there, Vivica.
Thank you, sir. Good.
Thank you, John. Yes.
We
Yeah.
had 3 different verbiages. Point, dot. When I said dot, he said point.